Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all. Welcome back to our ACI 17 with Venerable Gyelse. Please don't forget to turn on your camera if you would like to be certified for this course. If not, you can stay as a black square, but it's nice for the teacher to see your beautiful face. So it would be great if anyway you can turn on your camera. Thank you for being a part of this beautiful course. And it would be great if you can show us how are you doing today. Could you please send any emoji, any pictures you would like to, like hearts, flowers, or maybe you are good today or you are bad today? Could you send us your emoji? Would be cool. If not, it's okay also. Yay, Taunbian, 3 hearts, Sarah. Yay, great. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Venerable Gyelse, for coming to us and teaching us. And please welcome Venerable Gyelse. Of course, your mood would be much better after her class. Thank you.
Much better after my class, huh? Okay. Well, I do hope everyone is doing well. As you know, I'm still not home yet. It will be next week. I think I'll be teaching from my son's house, and then I'll be home on the following class. But today, where I am, I'm in Northern California, and I'm right on the ocean. Well, like a couple of kilometers from the ocean and in the redwood trees. And the fog came in yesterday, so it got very cold here. And I've got a fire going, and I'm thinking it's the middle of summer, and I've got a fire going. And it's just funny because back in Arizona, it's like you want to walk into the refrigerator rather than have a fire going. So all of that constant change, right? And it not being quite right and perfect, which as humans, we know a lot about. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So let me see, there's my share button. And that's not, let's, here we go. It's my share button. So of course, here we are, we're still in ACI 17, the second of 3 courses that are reviewing all 15 foundation courses, right? And today we're going to be talking about death and the realms of existence. Now, some of you may have attended the last ACI teacher training, which was all about this course. It was a teacher, that was the course that was used as the foundation for the teacher training. So if you were there, I'm sure you'll be able to help us in asking questions and answering questions and reminding us of things in this course. It is course 8, and this is our 5th course in ACI 17. And this course describes the places you go to after you die. That includes the bardo. It also, we're going to talk about how to do a death meditation. We're going to talk about the levels of the form and the formless realms. That might be of interest. Like, what happens to me when I die? Where am I going to go? You, if you're doing the lion's dance meditation, it could be very applicable there. And personally, I've been thinking about death a lot because I've seen a couple of friends on this trip who are dealing with cancer, one of them a terminal cancer. And we had a long discussion the other day about what it's like to have death in your face, right? And it was interesting because she said, well, sometimes I think about it and sometimes I don't think about it. And I wanted to know how she was leading her life differently or how it affected her. And what might be on the other side of it. And is death something that's final? And so we ended up talking about the fact that we're always me, no matter what form we're in, that's me. And so no matter where you get reborn after this manifestation, right, you're still me. You haven't lost that sense of me. It's just something to think about. We're also going to talk about future lives, which most Westerners don't believe in future lives, at least. Our culture doesn't accept it. And because of that, people think that you don't have to be moral because it doesn't matter what happens in the future. I can do anything, right? This is the one life I have. Let's live it up. And whatever happens, I'm going to die anyway. And the only proof is that the body stops moving, right? The only proof that there are no future lives. Our body just stops. Does that mean that something else doesn't go on? We shed this body, but there's nothing beyond it. Right? Everything in your world is a result of your past karma. And you recognize this based on your own kindness to others in the past. Each of us, if we were in the same room together, which we sort of are, we would experience things slightly differently. Right? Some people may be experiencing this as being boring. Some people may be excited. Some people are indifferent. And it's these perceptions that are determining what you perceive and how you walk through your life. And they could shift in a few moments, and you could be in a totally different world. Your existence in a given realm depends on your perception of yourself in that realm. And to move from one realm to another, it's kind of like moving from one room to another. It's just a shift in your perceptions. And because of that, it's so cool. Because of that, we have the opportunity to go to a paradise. And then not so cool or a hell realm. We need to create a lot of good seeds. And there are ways to maximize all of your good seeds and to minimize your negative ones. If you're aging, like I definitely perceive myself as aging, I am collecting negative seeds faster than my positive seeds. Diamond Way is the process of reversing that process so that your body turns into an tantric angel. But you wouldn't know that unless someone gives you the information, right? And our only hope is that wisdom will start to reverse that process. Beings in a lower realm have a hard time getting out because it's hard for them to activate positive karma. And then what happens is that they stay there until they use up all of their bad seeds. And there might be one small, tiny seed left to ripen as something more positive. Right? So we have this incredible opportunity right now in this human form to create positive seeds for this life and for our future lives. So, of course, we always want to know what the source is of these teachings. It comes from the Abhidharma Kosha, the Chö Numpe Tzu, and Chö is Dharma. Numpe is like, well, Numpe Tzu is like high treasure house. So Abhidharma Kosha is higher knowledge or treasure house, the treasure house of higher knowledge. Written by Master Vasubandhu around 350 AD. And his other name is Lopan Yiknyen. We are studying the third chapter. We are studying the three main realms, the desire realm, the form realm, and the formless realm. So the three main realms, the Dukam, the Sukham, and the Sukhmekam, the desire, form, and formless realm. These are the three realms of suffering existence. So this universe is made up of these three parts, the three realms of suffering. And every being and every object in all three realms is suffering. There are also beings who don't live in these realms. They are outside suffering. But if you're in these three realms, you're in a place of suffering. And you may go, wait a minute, I'm not suffering, right? I have everything I need. How many of us have everything we need? If we're content with what we have everything we need. My health is good. But if you look a little closer, you eat a meal and then you got to go poop and then you got to do this and you got to do that. And then a few hours later, you got to eat again. This is considered suffering, right? Think of all the time you use eating and preparing food that you could use for higher things? Or maybe, how could you transform it from something that's suffering into something that will get you to the higher way? How can you use it rather than continue to suffer? Interesting question. So the desire realm. This is the realm that we live in, right? It is the lowest of the three realms. And you can see here we're using the wheel of life, right? And in the desire realm, there are 5 or 6 different kinds of beings. Just depends on how you count Bardo beings, the intermediate state beings, the beings between one life and another. And there happen to be 20 different sections of the desire realm. So the first are the 10 bad births, the hell beings. And there are 8 levels of hells. There are 8 hot and 8 cold levels of hells. And then we have the realm of the craving spirits, the yidaks. And they have a subtle physical body, which you can't see. And they are born into an existence where they are never, ever satisfied. When they want food, if they find it, their necks are so tiny, their throats are so tiny, they can't swallow it, if they can even find it. Their bellies are bloated. They are craving all the time. Anybody well, we'll talk about it later. And then there's the animal realm, which is a realm that we can see, another realm that we can see, right? Dondro. And they live lives of fear of being killed. Most animals live in the ocean. There's still a large amount who live on the earth. Think of all the insects that there are on the earth. And of course, they're getting less. All of the species on this planet are getting less as our planet changes. And if you sit and watch, like I'm sitting out on my porch having my lunch and I'm watching the little birds hopping around, and they're constantly looking, checking where they are, what's behind them, what's above them. They're little, they fear. They fear from other birds, right? And we can see this because our lives intersect with the animals. And I can say, as a woman, walking in a large city late at night when it's dark, I can be in fear. It's scary, right? Do I live in fear all the time like a little bird? No. But there are people on this planet, in this world, besides the animals, who do live in fear for their lives almost every moment of the day. We are the fortunate ones. And then there are 10 higher births, and they're divided into 4 types according to the continent they are living on. So remember, we're talking about, this comes from the Abhidharma Kosha, right? which explains the cosmology of the world from a from a Buddhist viewpoint. And that's what we're using. So the first of the 10 higher rebirths are the humans of the 4 continents. And we live on the continent of Zambu. And there are 3 other continents. So that's 4 right there, right? And then there are 6 types of pleasure beings. Dulajuk. And remember that we're still in the desire realm. There are 17 kinds of pleasure beings living in the form realm, which are higher type than those that live in the desire realm. And we'll talk about the form realm later. And there are 2 kinds of pleasure beings in general. Those that live in samsara, which includes the form realm and the desire realm pleasure beings. And they're spending their lives in super luxury and pleasure and just, you could think about the super rich in this world, kind of their desire realm sort of pleasure beings. And then there's the totally pure and enlightened beings who live outside the desire realm. And if we're counting, then there's also 6, if we're counting 6 kinds of pleasure beings, then we're also counting the bardo beings. So what's the nature of the desire realm? It's called that because desire is our primary motivation. I had a friend who worked at a printing shop, and one day I was at the printing shop and there was a magnet. And I don't have this magnet anymore. I don't remember who I gave it to. I think it was another Buddhist friend. But on that magnet, it said, me, I want, me, now, now, now. And I thought that really summed up the desire realm. And I put it on my refrigerator. You know, I want this now. McDonald's French fries is built on that. Get them out as fast as you can, right? Because we want it now. We want enlightenment now. We want to be grown up now. We want now, now, now. So all of this desire for basically food, sex, and the objects of the senses, right, is what we want now in the desire realm. And we're attracted to the lowest kind of food and pleasure because we have coarse bodies and coarse foods. Like, there are different kinds of sustenance, but we like the solid kind, the kind we put in our mouth and chew, right? Of course, we also like the sustenances of quiet and hope and joy and things like that. But basically, it's food and sex and things to stimulate us. And our existence is defined by our desire for nice physical objects and wanting to get away from unpleasant objects. So the characteristic of this realm is that we can have bad thoughts, which, cause us to create bad deeds. And when we focus on our desirous thoughts, these thoughts get stronger and greater. And that becomes addiction. So, what ultimately causes each of the different realms and types of birth? We might want to know that. Well, unfortunately or fortunately, it is our mistaken idea of where everything comes from. And according to the highest school of Buddhism, the consequence section of the middle way school, Madhyamika Prasangika, the realms and each of the kinds of beings in them are like all other objects. They are the result of a projection forced upon this otherwise blank screen by our past seeds. Therefore, it is perfectly acceptable to say that Master Vasubandhu is describing actual life forms and realms that we, that we ourselves, if we could, if our seeds forced us to experience after our death from this present life. I'll say that again. If everything is a projection forced upon us on an otherwise blank screen, right? And it's forced on us by our past deeds, how we treated others in the past, then we can say, it makes sense, it's logical, that Master Vasubandhu, in describing these different realms, is that he's describing actual realms and life forms that we could be forced to experience because of our past karma in our next life. So, how do we end up as a yidak, as a craving spirit? Well, the first specific cause for birth as a craving spirit is a failure to perform the three kinds of giving. Anybody remember the three kinds of giving? What they are? I'll give you a moment to put it in the chat. Material things, dharma. That's 2. And protection. Thank you, Nyon. Material goods, comfort, or dharma. Thank you, Marcus. Material things, dharma, and protection, Sarah. Yes. Material things, freedom from fear, and dharma. The second way is being stingy, right? Serna. Not wanting to see your possessions become less. Being cheap. Having the misconception that keeping what you have and not giving it is the way to keep and have things. If I keep this all to myself, then I'll have it. And you won't have it. If I take all of the pie, then I can enjoy it. What tends to happen, though, what I've seen happen when I get tight with things and I don't want to share, is that fear steps in. I get scared that somebody's going to take something away. Like yesterday, it was interesting. I was looking for something that I usually have. And I come to this home here like maybe twice a year or something. So I put things in a certain place so that I can use them. And I went to look for it, and it wasn't where I had put it. And so I asked my brother if he knew where it was, and I asked somebody else, and it began to feel kind of uncomfortable that it wasn't there for me to use. Right? It's like, where did it go? Who took it? Who put it somewhere else? And so then my mind begins, in these negative thoughts. Whereas, like, oh, somebody probably needed it and they used it. That's okay. I'll go find something else, right? It's that. And it's inborn, this attitude that we have, this misconception about how things work in the world. And I don't think I'm the only one to have that, right? Otherwise, we probably wouldn't have the word my in our language. My car, my house, my body. Things that we hold on to, that we possess, and that sometimes we don't want to share. But as educated Buddhists, we know that by sharing our cars, sharing our homes, sharing what we have, and if you test it out, you will find that you have everything that you need if you share what you have. And then the third way is being jealous, tradok. And this is one of the ways this manifests is wishing that others don't have the good things that they have. And it's quite honestly the opposite of being a bodhisattva. So these three are what get us reborn into the realm of a craving spirit. And the essence of the karma is the essence of karma is movement of the mind, right? And movement of the mind leaves an impression on the mind stream. So how do we become a craving spirit? By doing these three. Based on the four laws of karma. In an extreme form, not giving causes the perception of yourself, right? The flowers in that you can't ever get enough. You always want more. So if you're always keeping and not giving it away, right? There's already a seed in you that wants. And that seed flowers into not getting, in fact, enough and always wanting more. And this is what a preta, or a craving spirit, is. A being overwhelmed with wanting and not being able to find anything that they can use, consume, whatever. So by planting these seeds, seeds, the movement of the mind, these perceptual seeds of not giving, those seeds grow extremely large and powerful and expand. Not giving plants a seed that grows and causes your perception to become such that you see yourself as a craving spirit. And I don't know about you, I've lived a long time, and there's this saying that says, the first 40 years of your life, you're collecting things. And the second 40 is you're trying to get rid of them. And I definitely find that to be true. And one of my projects here in my family's home is I lived here 25, 30 years ago before I moved to Arizona. And I had a divorce and then I just kind of left. And I'm back here trying to clean out all the stuff that I left behind, or a good part of it, right? And in fact, it's really fun because I get to give it to people who want it and can use it. And there's something really fun about that. I'm not trying to sell it. I'm just trying to find good homes for things. And then what I don't find a good home for, I take it to the secondhand store, and then someone there can find it, right? And then the secondhand store and the one I've been taking it to helps people with disabilities, then they have some money to help the people with disabilities. And so this letting go of stuff is very liberating. I highly recommend it. Don't carry old baggage around, physical, mental, and emotional. And then you don't have anything to worry about having, to be reborn as a craving spirit. Right? Be generous. Rejoice in what others have. Rejoice in what you have and share it with others. So what about to be born as an animal? Well, there's a general cause. Doing the 10 bad deeds to a lesser extent, not to a greater extent. So what does that mean? An example would be something that you do accidentally or infrequently. Some bad deed we're talking about, right? And that will lead to rebirth as an animal. The specific causes to be born as an animal are constantly breaking minor vows. And Another specific cause is doing lots of wrong deeds, such as disrespecting others, like calling somebody a bad name or something, over and over and over again. And these seem really minor. But what happens to karmic seeds? They grow, right? They grow and they grow and grow until they flower and ripen. So those are the causes to be born in the animal realm. Now, there are 6 kinds of suffering that are always with us, always in the human realm and the Deva realm. The first one, Yeme. And this is the fact that life has no certainty. Like in the discussion with my friend who has terminal cancer, I mean, she's certain that she's going to die. She doesn't know when. But death is much more much more prominent in her life. I know I'm going to die, but I don't know when. I don't know what's going to happen after this class today or in the next moment. Because events in our life are determined by our past karma and by our negative thoughts. There is no certainty that your friend will not become your enemy, or your father, your son, or any other possibility. We just don't know. So that's the first suffering of this life. The second suffering is that we can never find any sense of satisfaction. No mishe. No matter how much we get of something, we cannot feel any contentment. So I've given up sugar because I have this problem. It's been like a year and a half, almost 2 years now. I have this problem with sugar, which is I'm not content to have just a little bite of pie or a little bite of ice cream or whatever it is. And I want more until I make myself sick. Now that's called an addiction, right? So my solution is to not have it around and not eat it. And I think I'm going to be satisfied by having some, but I'm never satisfied. I want more and then I make myself sick. It's crazy. I don't know if anybody else does anything like that. It's it's pretty crazy. So in fact, the normal reaction to pleasure is that rather than satisfying us, it creates a desire for even more of the object, which then leads to more pain. There we go. The third suffering is the fact that we have to shed our bodies over and over again. Yang yang, over and over. Yang yang lundor. The point is, regardless of all the bad deeds we might accumulate, in order to maintain this body we have now, it's absolutely certain that in the end, we will be forced to shed this body. We totally identify with this body as me, and we're obsessed with this body more than we are with other beings' bodies. And because we think of it as me and are constantly caring for it, washing it, feeding it, walking it, sleeping it, whatever it is, constantly taking care of it, dressing it, when the time to leave, it can be a painful struggle. And the power of the wrong deeds we did for the sake of the body, we carry those in our mind, and they bring to us the eventual result of unbearable pain when we have to be parted from it. And then the fourth kind of suffering, yang yang ninsam jorwa. This one over and over again, right? Yang yang. Being reborn over and over again. So first we have to get rid of our bodies over and over and over again. And then we're reborn over and over and over again. The energy which projects you into this life is the same defective energy which leads to the degeneration of this body. If we were to take a grain of sand for every life that we've had, it would be larger than this planet. Once in a while, sit and meditate on the mountains of food that you have consumed in your endless lifetimes. Do we need to eat? Yes. Do we need to take care of our bodies? Yes. Because they're precious. We have a precious human rebirth. The point is not to obsess on it and to take care of other beings' bodies and other people's minds. Not just people, other beings' minds and bodies. And then we transform our eating, our sleeping, our bathing, our dressing for the benefit of others. And then you're planting different kind of seed. Of course, we have to do it consciously. Like when you're in the shower, why are you bathing? So you don't smell dirty around other people, right? You're bringing something nice to the environment. You can also wish and think about how amazing it is that when you turn on the shower, you get whatever kind of water you want. if you want a hot shower or a cold shower, and if you have clean water, and think about not just for yourself, but may other beings also have these things, and how we will provide that for others somehow. Maybe it's by not using as much water. Different ways we can think about it. And the fifth suffering is the fact that we have to go from a high position to a low position over and over again. There's that yang tomen gyur, right? The point here is that any good thing that ever happens here in this circle of suffering, in samsara, eventually turns into some kind of problem. After high comes low. And everything cycles around from high to low. It's the nature of the energy that's driving our life. We can go from the top of the heap to the bottom in a short time. The people that you didn't respect end up being the people you have to work for later, or who run your government or something like that, right? So how does it become a problem? In my own life, I think about, the desire of wanting to have a family and to be married. And then that marriage became a problem. And then there was a divorce, which was not fun, right? So it went from being something that appeared to be very sweet, that was very sweet, the karma shifted, then it was something not so sweet. And this is constantly happening in our lives, right? And then the sixth suffering is the fact that we have no companion. Drok mepa. So we not only lose our friends and family, but we even lose our body, our most intimate companion, who has been with us since before birth, right? In the womb. So not only do we collect a whole variety of different bad deeds for the sake of ourselves, we also do it for our friends. And yet, when the time comes to experience the consequences of our actions, none of these same friends can help us. They don't participate in our pain at all. Right? I can't take on the pain and suffering of my friend who has terminal cancer. And in these situations where we try to practice some Dharma, a lot of times our friends hold us back. And in that case, are they helping you? So ultimately, there is no companion. You are the flow of your seeds, the result of what you did before. You meet with people temporarily, and then you separate from them, and you're alone. And ultimately, nobody can come with you or go with you. The wise ones say, if you keep your vows and keep them purely, you can stay forever with your loved ones and overcome all these 6 sufferings. Cool? There's always a flip side, right? Always a flip side. So we talk about a child in the womb. For a child to be born, there has to be someone who is fit to be a mom, right? This is how we get born as a human. And then mom and pop, they have desire for each other. They have desire for sex, and they make sexual contact. And a bardo being is hanging out nearby. The bardo being's hanging out there close, and they're watching this, and they're like, wow, that looks cool. I want to be involved in that. And then they get closer and closer and closer and closer, and they get caught in the womb. Now, these 3 statements above, fit to be a mom, pa and ma have desire and make sexual contact, and a bardo being is hanging out nearby, are made in scripture, and they were spoken by the Buddha. And it's considered a proof of bardo existence, one of the beings who lives on smells. Now, we can't, or I can't see bardo beings. I don't know if they exist. Do you know if they exist? Can we take it on the word of the Buddha that they do exist? Check it out. Maybe it's one of those things you have to put on the shelf and think about later. Is there an in between? Are there rebirths? Are there past lives? Are there future lives? So Bardoas, who are part of the desire realm, you can count them in the desire realm, are caught in the womb when they see a couple making love from a distance. They're looking, they interpret it to be some kind of pleasure, and they move closer to join in. And they have a hallucination where they see sex as something wonderful and glorious and get closer and closer and closer. And then they go into the womb where, because of the perceptions they have there, they become trapped and can't get out. Their perception changes. They see solid tissue, which they can't pass through. They were able to go in, but not to get out. And that perception of themselves and the world shifts. And they become, or we did, right? That's how we were born, locked into an existence of rebirth and perceptual reality. the seeds ripen and they continue to propel us along that same way of seeing things. In the bardo, into the womb, and then born into this physical life as a human, right? Things forced on us by our past seeds. There's a question, what about echo and echo bardo? I don't know what that is. Can you explain what that is, Ina? I've never heard about echo and echo bardo. No? Ah, artificial insemination. That's it's interesting, right? Artificial insemination. That is the how. It is not the why. You have a sperm and an egg being artificially inseminated, right? But where is the being in the seed? Is the being in the egg? Where does the being come from? Right? So Abhidharma would still say that there is a Bardo being who's watching this and is interested. At least this is my understanding, right? And gets closer and closer and gets sucked in. A Bardo being is forced to take rebirth. Of course, it could be a human rebirth, it could be an animal rebirth, it could be a craving spirit rebirth, it could be a rebirth in the higher realms, as we spoke of before. It can be a rebirth like a human, it could be in an egg, it could be in, there are different forms of birth, right? Different kinds of birth. It's not definite that you and I are going to take rebirth as a human. But if you truly understand the pen and you use the pen in your life, then you will not be reborn in the lower realms. You know, and how fortunate that is, and how extraordinary that is, and how uncommon that is. Most people, most beings will be forced into lower realm rebirth. The scriptures do say, and that happens in the path of accumulation, right? Where you accumulate enough understanding to know that things are projections and are not coming at you intellectually, that you will not be reborn in a lower realm again. When the Abhidharma Kosha was written as well, did they have artificial insemination? Maybe not. So maybe they didn't cover it then. So how, it's a really good question. How do we bring it into the present time? How do we understand these things now? We can't make a baby in a petri dish with a sperm and an egg. It doesn't work. It has to be in a human body, right? It's not just chemicals coming together. There's something else going on there. And the Abhidharma Kosha is explaining what is going on. Do we accept it point blank without questioning it? No. So that's why this question is really good. We have to think about it. We have to use our logic. And that's where study groups come in. They're really a good place to talk and share about these different ideas. And that's the end of our class for today. Only an hour. You guys are lucky. So your meditation homework is to memorize the 6 sufferings and review specific instances of them in your life. Those 6 sufferings are: nothing is fixed, we are never satisfied, we lose our bodies over and over, we take on a new birth over and over. After high comes low, and there is no one who can go with you. Okie doke. Let me put you in gallery view so I can see all of your lovely faces. Thank you very much. And we'll continue with death in the realms of existence in 2 days. Let's see, I want to look at the chat here. No, I don't, I don't know about beings in the form realm still committing white karma. Can you tell me where that teaching is? Maybe my memory is just bad, but I don't remember that at all. And a Bardo being, they still have pockets of karma, both good karma and bad karma. And you have to keep the good karma going somehow, right? And if you don't keep the good karma going, then it wears out. And then the bad karma, the negative seeds, come to the surface, right? Oh, a being in the form realm, I'm sorry. A being in the form realm still commits white karma, which brings pleasant results. Why his or her karma still wears out? Because they're not producing any new good karma. They're just using up their good karma. There's nothing to create karma with good karma. And so then they use it all up and then they're forced to go to hell because all they have left are their negative seeds. I misread that. Any other questions? Well, good. We get to end early today. Some classes are shorter, some classes are longer. So thank you, everyone. And I'll see you in a couple of days. Have fun with your meditation, checking out your life and those 6 sufferings. It's quite enlightening, I think, to do that. And I will see you all in a couple of days. Bye.
Thank you so much, Venerable Gyelse. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, dear teacher. Thank you.